back.
Yeah. But anywho, so
I know. Yeah.
yeah, so back to breaking down Joe Biden's war on gas prices. So January 2021, so this was like a little over a year ago, and this is like when Biden got inaugurated. The average price of gas was 2.33. And then on
Oof.
day one of his presidency, Biden, through an executive order, began halting oil and gas leasing on federal lands and water. So essentially, he shut down the Keystone
And we
Pipeline.
talked about this.
Yes.
We talked about this, you guys. If you go back to, I guess it's a year and some change ago, we talked about his ridiculous executive orders, and elections have consequences.
Yep.
Continue.
And so then Biden, during this time too, Biden directed government agencies to eliminate fossil fuel subsidies by 2022. Go to May 2021, the average price of gas was $3.11. The Biden administration pressured big banks to divest from traditional energy investments. June 2021, the average gas price was $3.15. Biden revokes permit and cancels Keystone XL pipeline. August.
And this is what we all, I think this was kind of around the time when we all remember there was like a crazy spike. The gas pumps were full and they were empty.
I think this was around the time that one of the Colonial Pipeline got hacked.
Yes.
Yes.
You know what? Yeah. Yes.
And so then you go to August 2021, price of gas was $3.25. Biden called on Russia and OPEC to increase their oil production to counter rising prices instead of increasing domestic production, which is ironic because it's like, why are you asking other people to increase their oil, but we're not? Same time, there was increased regulations and scrutiny to punish and sanction the fossil fuel industry. December 2021, gas was $3.39. Biden halted federal aid for new fossil fuel projects abroad. February 22nd, 2022, just moments before Russia's invasion, Biden delayed issuing new oil and gas drilling permits on federal land. The average price of gas is $3.90. And now, March 8th, 2022, the average price of gas is $4.25. Biden banned Russian oil imports. Other European countries have not followed suit, hurting America more than Russia. So the thing with like the Russian oil, that's like 10% of our oil. And so it's interesting, like I saw someone else post this. They were saying if banning oil from another country is supposed to hurt that country's economy, what did banning our own oil do to our economy?
I think I shared that. Yeah. And I'm a teensy bit confused. I wouldn't think 10% of our oil will make this big of a difference. If we're doing out of 100%.
10% is still, I mean, it's a good chunk. And so we're going to have to make that up somewhere, but he's refusing to reopen the Keystone Pipeline in order for us to make it up. And so he's claiming he's pulling, and this too, so like we had like I know we had all these reserves set aside, but for like a rainy day, which that would be today. And so part of it is Biden's planning on opening those reserves, which I think it's only like 90 million gallons of oil. But he had also used a good portion already because when he closed the Keystone Pipeline, he opened those reserves just to keep gas prices down and his approval rating up. And so instead of just holding it off for a rainy day, we used a good portion of our reserves that we did not and should not have had to use.
Yeah. And I keep hearing that it's just going to get worse, and it's just going to get worse, and it's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
But there's nothing we can do.
Well, and that's what's frustrating. It's like, okay, for the rich American, it's not gonna bother them. But for like middle class Americans and low income people, it's like I'm gonna have to choose between driving, not me personally, but like someone's gonna have to choose between
I'll say
driving to
me.
work and getting a paycheck.
Oh well, no. I have to work.
But no, but that's what I'm
But
saying.
I mean,
It's like if they can't afford gas to get to work.
and I've been like this weekend. Another thing I need to do is I really need to like sit down and like write something that I'm grateful for. Just really be in the word,
Yeah.
because like this week has been incredibly hard for me. Like economics wise, just trying to balance and work on
Yeah.
everything, because I have to drive 40 minutes for my job. So like this,
Luckily you have a car.
Yeah, thank God. And thank God I have, like, a Corollas are pretty good cars when it comes to gas. Like, it should not be, like, at the beginning of it, which was in June, so it should be cheaper. But at the very beginning, it was costing me $27 to fill it up.
Yeah.
Right now, it's $41. Technically, it could be about $42, $43. But anyway, my whole point being, like, it's very, like, I have to drive 40 minutes to work. It's very difficult for me. And I'm grateful that I'm grateful that I do have a job to pay for it, and, I have to move some things around and whatnot. But there are people who are in worse situations, and I feel like I'm not in the best situation.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my friends too, they don't have to go to work. So really, all I really have to do is go to like church and go to the grocery store. But even in the grocery store, literally you just have Walmart deliver it.
Yeah. And the thing,
like, you can avoid using your car.
And the thing too, what people don't realize, like, prices of goods are gonna go up too, because between transportation,
they already have.
And then like it's gonna go up even more between like transportation, and then like I mean, there's like plastic.
Truckers
is
getting oil.
Plastic is oil. And that's what it's like frustrating that like people don't understand. It's like, why? And this is where I think President Trump was right. It's like we shouldn't be dependent on any other nations, or we should not. We should get our dependency on other nations.
If we can even, like, this is, I don't know how to say this without sounding insensitive, but if we could even have people making the iPhone in the U.S., we need to just, I really think we just need to be dependent on ourselves. Mm-hmm. Because if something happens like this, we really don't want to have to depend on other people. Yeah. Like, we should be U.S. dependent. And I mean, here's the other thing too, but here's the problem with that. Like, I was going to say, I want to start only buying U.S. things, but the reality is, because I don't have a lot of money, it's so expensive. It's so expensive to make things in the U.S. Why? I mean, maybe we should have someone to come talk about that, because I don't understand, other than you have to pay people a livable wage, which is a good thing. Like, that's not a bad thing. I don't know. And the other thing that's kind of like annoying me, and I haven't said anything, I've actually had one or two people say this to me in real life. But when that's kind of annoying me is people are like, I don't mind paying extra money at the pump for those children in Ukraine. And it's like, two things are not these are not the same. I think like you paying extra money at the pump is not affecting the people in Ukraine. Yeah. I'm sorry,
I
it's just not.
I had a friend that like shared that she shared it last night, and she's like, that is, and she's like a good Republican. She's like, that is your privilege talking, that you think that everyone can just handle and deal with gas going up like $1.50 a gallon. Like, that is your privilege talking right there, that you think that's going to be okay, that a working mother will be able to continue working and feeding, especially when prices on everything's going up.
Right. And also, you taking this extra money in gas is not helping anybody in Ukraine. I'm sorry, it's not. Just like how...
Yeah, she was like, yeah, like, you wearing yellow and blue and saying, I'm okay with paying a little bit more at the gas pump, is not you actually doing something. It does not mean anything. It just shows your white privilege, or not white privilege, sorry, but it just shows your privilege, that
rich privilege,
your rich privilege, that that's
Yeah.
okay. And I think that's like the irony in the whole like Democratic Party. It's like, like I'm
Yeah.
okay with paying more at the pump. And it's like, okay, but what about like everyone else? Like, what about me? Like, I mean,
Yeah. I
we're
like
okay, like
it.
we do fine, but we're not great. And like honestly, like
Yeah.
price increases have really taken a hit on a lot of Americans, and I mean, especially me, like I'm feeling it.
I'm feeling it. I didn't say this before. Part of the reason why I'm going to that party is because it's a free meal. I mean,
Yeah.
like, you got to get it where you can get
Yeah.
it. Like, like that's where, and I've been going back and forth too. Like I said earlier, it is on the other side of town. So I'm like, okay, gas wise, should I still really do it? Well, and that's the other thing too. I mean, people with the whole, even like with the whole Kim Kardashian, like work.
Oh God.
We are working.
Yeah.
We are trying hard. It's not like we're in just like this is
It's
just
like,
a really
honey, I'm
bad
sorry
time for people
that I
economically.
didn't use a sex tape to get my name out there like you
Right.
did, and
Right.
have and live in Beverly Hills and Bel Air already, and already had all this
Right.
money. Like
And
like she was able to thrive because she had a fallback. Like she knew that even if she failed at business, she'll always be taken care of, and not just taken care of, like living a well-to-do life. And so, like,
right.
yeah, like don't get me wrong, like she's a great businesswoman. She works her butt off, but that's not the secret to business.
No. And honestly, and like you said this when we were talking about it, I'm not taking advice from her in that aspect.
Yeah.
Like that she just isn't the one
Like
who is
like starting a
what?
business. I wouldn't necessarily take advice from her, but like how she's like been able to like create, like in the Kardashians journal, create the Kardashian brand and create like
right.
all these brands from it. Like I think that's something you take away from it, but just like starting out as a businesswoman,
no,
like
I'm not taking her advice. Once I get to that $1 million mark with my business, okay, Kim, where do we go from here? But I mean, Mallory literally counting coins to make sure I can pay for the software and whatnot. No, I'm not taking your advice. Like this new software, like, so it's. And once again, like I'm really trying not to complain. I'm just trying to be real and like honest about like the situation. And if the other thing too, really quick on what doesn't work. Pouring out your Russian vodka, I think is hilarious.
God.
That has zero effect.
No, and that was like
hilarious.
So Sebastian's opponent, for when he ran, he was just like, "Yeah, I'm calling in a ban on Russian vodka," and I'm like, "Well, maybe you should call in a ban on Russian oil, and that would do a lot better than pouring out your vodka, sir." Like, I'm sorry.
That literally
like
makes no difference.
And it's just so funny. And this is something I also want our following to realize. Like, the Democrats are pulling hard on this Russian-Ukraine war because that's the only thing they have for midterms. And so it's so funny, like, Sebastian's, like, opponent from 2020, like, now the only thing, like, he's posting about is, like, Ukraine. He's like, this is what we're doing for Ukraine. This is, like, look at me volunteering. And like you're seeing this a lot of Dems, it's like, look at me volunteering with this drive for goods for Ukraine, and like we should be doing this to help Ukraine, that to help Ukraine. Like, I'm not saying like that's not like a bad thing at all. Like, I'm happy they're doing that, but the only reason why they're doing that is for votes in November. And that's the only reason why, like, it's I don't want to say that's the only reason why it's getting highlighted as much as it is. But, like, I think that's one of the reasons why, like, the Dems are all of a sudden like, we gotta do this. We gotta.
Everybody's talking about it.
Talk about it. And it's a distraction from, like, all the crappy policies the Dems and Biden have put into place the last 2 years.
And I think we can also recognize that, like, for example, what is happening in Ukraine is awful,
Yeah.
sad, and terrible. I feel so bad for the people. I don't necessarily, I'm supposed to upload James. James needs to send me the file, but we talked a little bit about it, and, you know, I'm not on Team Ukraine, Team Russia. I'm not doing that, because I honestly don't know enough about the conflict
Yeah,
to
I
pick
mean, I don't know enough.
geopolitical team, but I do know that there's humans that are hurt on both sides that have nothing to do, that just literally have nothing to do with it. It's just two leaders mad at each other, two governments.
I think we can both agree we're anti-Putin.
Yes, I can definitely say that. I don't think Putin's like this.
The Russian people have, especially these Russian soldiers, I don't think they're aware of what's going on. Like, my understanding is they've been told something different. I mean, they're attacking civilians. Which that's the scary, sad thing, is how they're attacking civilians.
Yeah, that's awful. I'm not going to touch on that. I'm talking about Mary Sue, who no longer can use PayPal, who no longer can use her iPhone, who connects with her family through Facebook because they're concerned about how she's doing. I'm talking about not Mary Sue, Olga. I'm talking about Olga that is trying to connect with her family. Anastasia in Russia. I'm talking about them. Yeah. Like, I do feel bad for the people in Russia who are just trying to live.
Like, and I think too.
Yeah, I think the average us.
Yeah, I think
the two girls on their podcast.
My understanding is, I think the enemy is Putin and like the government, because, like, I mean, look at what they're doing. Like, they're silencing the media over there. They're arresting people for speaking out. And so, like, I think, like, the average Russian, in my understanding, is like, they're completely, like, against this. Like, I mean, they are protesting in Russia, for crying out loud.
And, you know, I'm going to say this, and I hope this doesn't get us canceled, but I'm going to say it. I really hope that nothing happens to the U.S. because the way, for example, Students for Life shared the picture of the maternity ward, and people immediately went, well, how do we know this is true? How do we know that she's not a crisis? Instead of like, oh my gosh, they bombed the maternity ward. Oh, that's awful. Their first immediate reaction was, this can't possibly be true. Fake. Yeah. That was what people were, and I, like, nobody's going to have sympathy for us. Nobody's going to.
But I will play devil's advocate with you. I think it's like we've been given so much propaganda the last couple of years that people don't know what's real and what's fake, and they can't trust the information they're given.
And we know that a lot of the things, some of the things that have come out are fake. We do know that for sure. But I cannot fathom looking at a picture of a bloodied woman, pregnant woman from a maternity ward and going, fake, boo, like, this is fake, I can't believe you're sharing. And it's like, I just wouldn't say anything. Yeah. Like, because I wouldn't say anything until I had more information. It literally recently happened, so we really don't know either way. Yeah. But I don't know. To me, that just lacks so much compassion. So, and it could very well be fake. Absolutely, it could. I don't know. I'm not researching it enough to know, but I'm going to err on the side that it's real until I know that it's fake. Yeah. And I'm concerned that, like, if something were to happen in the U.S., everybody would be like, "Who cares? They didn't care about us."
Yeah.
Because I don't know. That just really concerns me.
Yep. Well,
last thing we'll say about this is, I don't know if you saw Pete Buttigieg. I can never say his name. Did you see his tweet or his comment?
It was like, hey, like, something about, like, gas prices. He's like, we'll just buy an electric car. And it's like, honestly, we started looking at it with how prices. We looked at a Tesla. I think the cheapest one is $40,000.
Yeah, so if you can't afford gas, I don't understand how, like, you can afford a Tesla. Like, it just...
Yeah.
So this person said, Mayor Pete said today that people struggling with rising gas prices should solve the issue by buying electric cars. In related news, homeless people should also buy houses so they aren't homeless anymore. Thanks for the tips, Marie Antoinette. Which, that was funny. But no, seriously, like, that's out of touch.
And this is kind of the issue I have, because My understanding with like Trump's cabinet, he picked people that had experience in this. Biden's cabinet is people he owed political favors to. So like Pete Buttigieg,
Yeah.
why he has no experience being head of infrastructure. Like if you're head of infrastructure, why would you say that comment to someone?
Because at the end of the day, he has no idea what
Exactly, he
he's
has no
doing.
idea. Like he was mayor of a small town.
And he can do that. He probably
Yeah,
can
I mean the only reason
buy
why
a
South
Tesla.
Bend, oh yeah, definitely. Only reason why South Bend was on the map is because of Notre Dame.